And after calling the meeting to order, item number 2 is the invocation and pledge of allegiance. I'd like to ask my dear friend, Mr. Leon Miller, if he'd lead us in a word of prayer, and then followed by the pledge of allegiance. Thank you.
Our Father God, again, we come to say thanks for this day that you have given us, oh Heavenly Father. Thank you for all the happiness that's going on in today, oh Heavenly Father. Thank you for wrapping your arms around the deceased families, oh Heavenly Father. Continue to touch our heart, oh Heavenly Father, that we can reach out and touch each other, oh Heavenly Father. Oh Heavenly Father, we ask you, Father, give a blessing to our leaders in this county and in this city, oh Heavenly Father, that the things that they do to do better for this community and the citizens of this community. Our Father, again, we say thanks for all the blessings that you wrap your arms around us and guide us and lead us in thy name, for Christ's sake, ever. Amen.
Amen. Would you join me with the pledge of allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Item number 3 on today's agenda is the mayor's report. We've had a busy couple of weeks. Ms. Gaynor and I were privileged to be at the groundbreaking at Tyndall Air Force Base recently for the DOT flyover construction, which will ease the traffic situation going from Mexico Beach to here and vice versa. It'll allow the people on the base to not have to leave the base. They'll have to ride bicycles underneath and that kind of thing. So it's going to be really beautiful. It's going to be a great addition to what they're now calling Tyndall. I think I spoke before when I went to the last meeting out there that that's going to be the base of the future, possibly housing President Trump's idea of the Space Force and technological buildings that we cannot even yet imagine. So Tyndall's going to be a great continued part of this community. And I had the opportunity to tell the colonel when we were out there, spoke for just a moment, my small, petite, redhead grandmother back in the 40s actually drove one of the transport trucks for the men from Tyndall back and forth, and she also drove out to the old fuel depot here as well. So I feel very connected to Tyndall. My father was also employed out there, so it's nice to see that that tradition is going to continue and that this is going to make our community remain the growing, vibrant area that it is with the military partnerships that we have, not only with them but with the Naval Coastal Systems Station as well. We had a wonderful Halloween celebration. I could not help but remember that this time last year that our Halloween celebration, which took place just 2 short weeks after Hurricane Michael, began the journey that Lynn Haven has made in being such a shining light in the community and welcoming everyone here to safety and to fun. And I remember Walmart giving us all those costumes and all that candy and how everybody pulled together. And the park literally was a miraculous cleanup last year. And it was just this year to know that we're continuing that tradition. So once again, there are no words that I could, as mayor, adequately express the work that the employees of this city have done to make sure that the children and the families here have felt like this community has continued on a positive path. So thank you all so much for all that you do every day. Also, I had a weekend with grandchildren since the last meeting, so that was good. Made me a happier mayor. I've met with lots of residents and business owners regarding their continued issues with contractors, with some drainage issues and other concerns. But most people seem to be rather resolute. We're becoming, Ms. Richard, I'll just have to say that Lynn Haven's becoming a bit British. We're getting that stiff upper lip, I think, that we've just become resolute, that some of these things aren't going to change quickly. And so I'm just proud of all our residents. I think endurance is probably the word of the month right now. People are just enduring whatever they have to and doing the best they can to keep going. And so the same kind of, thankfulness and the same kind of congratulations to our residents just for continuing to persevere and to work through what they have to work through just to get through each day right now. So that's really all I have right now. I'll just pass and go to the other end of the table and start with Commissioner Perno this week.
Thank you, Mayor. I attended the Halloween celebration in the park, and I'd like to thank everybody who worked it and put up with the drastic drop of temperature and the wind that night. It was amazing that we were in our t-shirts and sweating at 2 o'clock, and it was freezing and windy at 7 o'clock, and everybody did a great job, even with the weather not being too much in our favor. It was a windy, cold night, but the kids had fun, and everything went well. So, I attended the ROTC promotion at Mosley High School. One of my employees was being promoted to sergeant, and he's only 16 years old, and I was really proud to be with his parents when he got promoted, and he invited me to come, so it was an honor. And I also met with a citizen at his home to look at the situation he had with his he says his neighbors are high on both sides, and he's catching water. And Bobby Baker's going to meet me out there at his house tomorrow to hopefully work out solutions for the citizen. And I just want to tell you, I'll continue to work hard and listen to everybody and do the best I can for being a commissioner for y'all. Thank you.
Excellent. Commissioner Aldridge.
Thank you, Mayor. Been a long 3 weeks. Feels like it's been a long time since we've had a meeting. Been a busy, productive couple of weeks. Of course, we're always holding meetings behind the scenes, trying to make sure everything's flowing and that we're making as much of an impact for the citizens as we can. I will drop this little thing out there. I'm so excited about what's going to be going on in the end of second quarter of next year with Highway 77. I'm not going to go into it, but everybody's going to love that. So be excited for spring of next year. And just know that every employee here, every commissioner and the mayor is working to try to make this place the premier place to live here in Bay County. So thank all of you for being involved as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Aldridge. And if I may clarify, when Commissioner Aldridge said that we're holding meetings behind the scenes, that the commission is not holding meetings behind the scenes.
Yes, Mayor. No,
I think he meant he's meeting with staff and others
yes,
behind the
that is what I
scenes.
mean. Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving right along. Just a little humor to the meeting there. Moving right along to Commissioner Russell.
Thank you, Mayor, for straightening that out, because if you weren't, I was going to. So, yeah, it's been a productive couple of weeks, mostly dealing with citizens' issues. Had a meeting with the city attorney, city engineer, and as well the acting city manager, and continue to work for you. If I can do anything for you, call me and let me know. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Tender.
Thank you. Basically, the last few weeks, I've just been dealing with residents, and when I get an issue, I make a phone call and try to get it fixed as quickly as possible. Drainage issues, contractor issues, all the usual that just seems to be going on now. Been talking with the acting city manager about customer service. Just happens to be a thing for me, and I will never let it die, no matter what's going on. So we now have popcorn in the permitting office. If anybody's hungry,
Nice.
just anything to create a more pleasant atmosphere when we're dealing with things that nobody likes to deal with. Other than that, I think just the usual stuff that I hear almost every day, and trying to take care of business. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 5 on tonight's agenda is the acting city manager's report. Ms. Gaynor.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to yield some of my time, well, probably most of it, to two important things. First is the employees of the month. As you remember, we told you that there were so many employees that lagged behind in terms of the things they did during and after the storm that we just couldn't choose one employee and say employee of the month. And this will probably be the last month that we catch up on those employees of the month. And so at this time, I'm going to ask first that Joe Futon comes and talks about his person. And then after Joe, we will have Ray Gates that will come up and talk about his person.
Hi, I'm Joe Footen. I'm the Facility Maintenance Director for the City of Lynn Haven. At this time, can I get Jason up here, please? Hey. It gives me great pleasure to present Jason Cobbs with this award. Jason was nominated and voted by my fellow city leaders for his excellent performance and effort and has put into his job. I always tell my employees that hard work and dedication noticed by peers is much more valuable than the kudos from your boss. Jason has been an asset to the city of Lynn Haven for 6 years and has been with this department since he started and has become someone I really rely on. He is dependable and is a very good worker. Jason is well liked by his coworkers, which is indicative of being a team player, which I say thank you. Jason is a valuable product of, I'm sorry, Jason is a valuable part of our department. Jason, congratulations.
Dave's not here. Can you hear me? Is this better? Can you hear me now? Dave's not here. Dave O'Connell is the person that we nominated from the police department. He's working. What? Okay. Is this correct? Did we got the right person? Dave is working midnights, so he's not able to be here. During the storm, immediately during and after, in between, Dave had to keep himself busy. He would dispatch from 6 in the morning, 6 in the evening till 6 in the morning. He'd sleep in his truck for about an hour to 2 hours, grab a chainsaw and go out and cut limbs, drive a tractor, do whatever he needed to do, go back to his truck, sleep for another 30 minutes to an hour, dispatch at night again. He didn't have any relief. I went in there a couple of times to relieve him, and he wanted to stay put where he was and make sure that everything was done and what needed to be done was done. He was relentless. He went above and beyond whenever we needed to get something, do something. Dave was willing to jump in and do it. There was times where I could tell he was tired. He needed to go home. I would tell him to go home. I would tell him to check on his wife. He sent his wife out of town, but he would not leave his troops. And from day one, we knew Dave was special. He just jumped in. He did what he had to do. He learned the equipment that we had, the CAD system that we had, and he just ran with it. To this day, if there's anything we ask Dave to do, he'll do it. He won't question why. He'll just do it for you. He's that type of person. He is a man of integrity, wit, wisdom, and intelligence, and we are very fortunate to have him. So on behalf of Dave, I thank you for this award.
Thank you. Mayor, a couple other things that we have, just want the citizens to know about. We know that there have been some long lines that have happened in terms of building department. We are proud to say we have hired 2 permitting specialists that have experience, and this hopefully will make the lines go by a little bit faster, along with the popcorn and the coffee. They can probably wait and not even know they're waiting, we hope. So that's a really good thing. Again, we would like to thank everyone for Halloween. We thought this year, because it was the storm last year, we wouldn't have that many people as we had last year. Several of staff said, I think it's more than what we had last year. It was very successful. I love hearing from residents and other folks who say, we got to do this every year. This is the best thing that could have happened and should be happening to the city of Lynn Haven. Some bright spots. We do see the roofs going on the buildings. Right now, we are very proud of our facility maintenance and community services department. They are making strides at the garden center. One of the great things that they're doing, they've already done some of the gutting out at the garden center, begin to make it something is going to look totally different by the time we're finished with it. But what's the great side of this is that we have staff that's bought into it and they're working this and some other projects themselves. This also saves the city money, and we can also get reimbursed for the time that these employees spend rebuilding the city. So we just thank God for the cities and all the things that they are doing. And I will tell you, by the first of the year, you will see some pretty amazing things happen for this city. So with that, Mayor, that is my report.
Thank you so much. And again, thank you for all of the hard work that you're doing for the city and have done for the past months. At this time, I would move on to item number 6, the city attorney's report.
As usual, Mayor, no report at this time.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 7, this is public commentary. As we move through each of the items, part of the format for the way I conduct a meeting is the public is allowed to comment on any of these items as we move along. But if you have something that you would like to talk about tonight to the commission that is not listed as one of the agenda items, feel free at this point to approach the podium, and please try and keep your comments to around 3 minutes. Yes, ma'am. I think it's pointed the wrong way.
This is Arlene Harrison. I would like to thank the city of Lynn Haven for a very quick response late on Friday afternoon when I had a very serious plumbing problem and sewer problem at Roberts Hall, and I want to commend the city with its response. Thank you.
Thank you. That's wonderful to hear. Thank you so much. Very nice. Is there anyone else who has an item for the commission this evening? Mr. Miller?
Yeah, Leon Miller, 1508 Mississippi Avenue. It just got through paving, I believe, right there by the medical building on 17th Street. And it's a big drainage problem down there. The water standing there all the time, right there by the junior food store and the medical building. Sometimes it be ankle deep when it's raining. It just don't run off on some reason.
Okay.
And the other reason, the other thing is that we know we're getting a lot of apartment complex on 17th Street right now. Think about it and see if we need to start flashing light there to say, stop coming out of there, because if not, there's going to be some terrible wrecks there. Because you're talking about maybe 200 or 300 cars coming out of there a day.
Maybe this will be an item for our traffic committee to consider, Chief Ramey, if we'll just have Chief Ramey and the committee get on that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for bringing that to our attention. Is there anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Gloria Cutchins, 1115 Kentucky Avenue. I'm puzzled about why both commission meetings each month are at times when people who are working can't attend.
I can answer partially for you, and then maybe if the others want to chime in, they can. When I became mayor 4.5 years ago, I campaigned about an evening commission meeting because people asked me for that. They said that's what they wanted. And so even when I brought that forward, the commissioners who were in place at the time would not agree to do both commission meetings at 6. And so we made a compromise, and we had one meeting at 4 and one at 6. Recently, this item was brought back up, and this commission decided to keep one at 4 and move the 6 o'clock meeting till 9. I personally am still for the evening meetings, but that's where we are. So if anyone else on the commission would like to address that, feel free to do that.
Thank you, Mayor, if I may. Ms. Cutchin, it was my understanding, and I'm one of the ones that voted for it. We had a special meeting a couple of months ago, or it was a 9 or 9:30 meeting, and the response that we got on Facebook, we had more people watching on Facebook and making comments on Facebook than we've ever had in the audience. And my understanding, and the reason I voted for it, was because we were getting more participation online. You know, I understand there is a significance to have people here,
Yeah.
but when you have 1,400 people watching it on Facebook and making comments on Facebook, you're getting the response that way. So my feeling was that people were at work, being able to watch the meetings while they were at work and still being able to interact with us.
Well,
So that was my
yeah.
thinking, the reason why I voted to move it.
when I was working, I would not have been able to do that, but
Yes, ma'am.
maybe everybody can now.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone else?
Yes, Mayor, if I
Commissioner
could.
Aldridge?
I just kind of piggyback. I get a lot of the same responses from working people, and that they can't come to the meetings, but they do love the Facebook live stream, and they do sit at work and watch these meetings. I know for a fact. I'm not going to name names, but family members maybe sometimes they'll watch these meetings. So yes, I agree. I think it's there's multiple ways to reach or get our message out, reach the public, and I'm open to any times. Really, I am. I'm here to work for you, but it all determines which one is getting the most effective outcome, I believe.
Why not have a 4 o'clock meeting moved to 9 o'clock and still have an evening meeting for
Right.
people who want to come?
Right. Yes, ma'am.
That's
Yes,
a good
ma'am.
idea.
And Ms. Cutchins, I would follow up with what I said before as well. I'm still against anything other than evening meetings. I'd like to have them both at 6 o'clock. And to say that people at work can watch it on Facebook, I mean, you can watch it on Facebook at home at night, but my career before this was a teacher. I certainly couldn't have watched it on Facebook, even if I wanted to, because our computers would have been locked out of Facebook. Nurses can't do that. A policeman can't do that. I mean, unless you're working for yourself in a private audience, I don't know who would be able to do that, or you're at home.
My customers at work would have appreciated it.
So anyway, I'm still looking for that all evening meetings is what this mayor would like to see. So just on the record for that. Anyone else? Ms.
Yes,
Tindall?
ma'am.
Commissioner Tindall?
Are we doing it on Facebook right now?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Where are they?
Well, he's streaming it live on Facebook, so the people at
People
home
just
can-
aren't asking questions. yet.
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, and sometimes we have staff, our communications department. I think what Commissioner Tender meant was that our communications department, Catherine, and some of the others
Yeah.
are usually here responding to the comments that are made by Facebook. So, yeah. Any other comments about anything today? Yes, ma'am.
Well, I'm not really hearing what if people are commenting right now on Facebook, if they commented about other things, we haven't heard any of it. So I really also agree with the evening meetings.
Thank you. And also, when you leave here today, if you're not, if you don't use Facebook a lot, if you ever want to leave a meeting and then go and pull Facebook back up, our meeting, and look at it on YouTube, you can watch it again and you can see what people had to say, afterwards about different items. So anyone else? Okay, if not, then I'll move on from public commentary to our consent agenda, which is, again, it's just our minutes from the last regular meeting, which was October the 22nd. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion for approval and a second. Any discussion, corrections, deletions to that document? There appear to be none. Any comments from the public about last month's meeting minutes? There appear to be none. Ms. Gaynor, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Russell,
Yes.
Commissioner Aldrich,
Yes.
Commissioner Perno,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes, so the minutes stand approved. There is no old business to discuss tonight. Moving on to new business, item number 9. This is discussion and possible approval to advertise an RFQ soliciting fencing for the cemeteries and other city properties, and this is an item placed by the acting city manager.
Mayor, as we move into the rebuild, we anticipate that there are going to be some things that we need to put in place. One of them being the Mount Hope Cemetery that does not have fencing around it. Now that we kind of got a cost analysis from FEMA where we know where we may land in that, we can put that RFP out to get some pricing to see what it cost us to put some fencing back in place, repair some other fencing. And then in the future, if we'd like some other fencing to be put in place, we'll be able to do that. So really a lot of these things is once we've gone through the FEMA cost analysis and we've talked about it, to be able to put those RFQs out so that we're not waiting around and the city can continue just to move forward with these kinds of projects.
So I heard both RFQ and RFP. Will this be an RFQ or an RFP? for this?
It will be pricing, so it
Okay.
really will be an RFP.
Okay, thank you very much. Make that correction,
ma'am.
everybody on the agenda there. Is there discussion concerning this?
No, I make the motion that we go ahead and do it.
So there is a motion on the floor to advertise for an RFP for fencing for the cemeteries and other city properties.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any from the public? Ms. Gaynor, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Commissioner Russell,
Yes.
Commissioner Aldrich,
Yes.
Commissioner Perno,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes, so it stands approved. Item number 10 is discussion and possible approval of resolution number 2019-11-305, addressing legal representation for the city regarding the opioid crisis. City attorney may have some comments. Do we need to read this resolution in entirety or just by title? Or
If the commission wishes to go forward, then it would be read by title only, but only at the point the decision
Okay.
makes a decision.
Okay, so would you like to bring some
Yes.
information for us?
Thank you, Mayor. As the mayor said, this is a resolution which proposes engaging or retaining a law firm, Riley and Jackson, to seek civil remedies against those responsible for wrongful distribution of prescription opiates. In short, there is, and Jeremiah Mosley with that firm is here, and should we have any more specific questions, I'd ask the mayor to allow him to speak to that. But in short, there's a class action lawsuit which has a number of county and city municipalities in the thousands. The thought is that those who are participating in this litigation will, well, let me back up. The thought is that eventually there's more than likely going to be a settlement with these distributors, makers and distributors of these opioids. In those counties and municipalities that have counsel and are at the table in this mass class action suit will have a bigger say in getting the funding that will likely be coming. For those cities and counties that do not have anyone at the table, there's a good chance that their voice will not be heard and the compensation will not be as great. In this case, it's my understanding that Bay County has representation and has a seat at the table. And if the city, as I understand it, were to do nothing, then we would be left to Bay County's decision as to what and how much funding we would deserve. The hope, if you were to retain counsel, is that we would have a bigger say and swing a bigger stick when it came time to that resolution point. With that being said, Mayor, if you would allow, I would ask that Mr. Mosley be able to give an opportunity to speak on behalf of his firm, Riley and Jackson.
Absolutely, Mr. Mosley.
Commissioners, Jeremiah Mosley from the Riley and Jackson Law Firm at 3530 Independence Boulevard in Birmingham. Like Adam said, this is a litigation that affects the entire country. There's about 30,000 local governments, counties, municipalities in the country. About close to 3,000 have now filed a lawsuit in a collected litigation in Cleveland, Ohio, which is one of the hardest hit areas by the opioid crisis. But even though Cleveland and Cuyahoga County are among the hardest hit, every community is hit by this. I can get as far into the weeds on the actual litigation as anyone wants to. I will tell you practically, the issue right now is the litigation's been going on for about 3 years, and it's getting to a point now where it looks very likely that in the next 6, 12, possibly 18 months, there's going to be a global settlement that affects the entire country. Like Mr. Albritton said, those counties and cities that have filed a lawsuit into the litigation in Cleveland are going to have a bigger say in how the money gets divided up. There's almost certainly going to be some money that's allocated specifically for Lynn Haven. And the question is, who gets the money? The big push for lawyers like myself and my law firm and some of the firms we're associated with is to prevent what happened in the late 90s with the tobacco settlement, where $200 billion over 25 years went to plug up general funds and budget holes. We don't want that to happen here because unlike tobacco, which is a long-term health risk, this is a very acute health risk in the communities. It's now being estimated that there are more deaths per day by opioid overdoses than by car accidents, which is the first time in decades that car accidents have not been the leading cause of death. We believe that there are very legitimate uses for these medications. We have uncovered a lot of evidence over the past 3 years of some companies that have done what I would call very bad things and trying to increase their bottom lines and their profit margins by pushing these medications for uses they're not intended for. That's in sum what we would ask. I'll tell you very briefly about my firm. We practice we practice nationwide. In this litigation, we practice in Alabama and in the Panhandle. We represent Jefferson County, which is where Birmingham's located, the largest county in Alabama, Huntsville, some other counties and cities in Alabama, Okaloosa and Walton counties to your west. We represent those counties. And like Mr. Albritton said, there's a large firm that represents Bay County, and they also represent some other counties in the state of Florida. In the negotiations with the Attorney General and the county, we would recommend that y'all have someone who's in the litigation, who knows the litigation, who can go and say, no, Lynn Haven's allocation needs to come to Lynn Haven, not to Bay County, not to Tallahassee, not to another state, because there's only so much money to go around.
Thank you, Mr. Mosley.
Yes, ma'am.
And Mayor, just to close that out, after speaking with the partners at Riley and Jackson, Mr. Mosley included, and the city manager, and us conferring over the litigation, I believe it's safe to say that both the city manager and I both recommend moving forward with this resolution.
Mayor, could I ask
Yes,
a
you may.
question? Thank you. I don't know if you explained it. I know we have talked in the past, but for the sake of the citizens and the rest of the board, how does the payment, how would you take payment for this?
So what we
particular-
propose, Commissioner Aldridge, is
Mhm.
operating under a contingency fee, which means the hours we put in to this, we don't never send y'all a bill. If for some reason there was no recovery down the road, we never send you a bill. If we do recover, we propose a contingency fee of 30%. Our thought is most contingency fee contracts are for a third or 40%. We come in lower with the goal of putting more money in this back into the city than maybe another law firm might, and that's our proposal.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Are there other questions or comments from the commission?
Mr. Mosley, there's also a potential for another 8 to 10% being taken by the courts, correct? For the cost of the litigation.
There is so things are happening very quickly right now. What Commissioner Russell is referring to is there's a potential that a certain percentage of any proposed settlement with any of these large manufacturers would go into a fund that's set aside specifically for reimbursing attorneys' fees for cities and counties that hired outside counsel. If that does come to pass, Commissioner, we are telling all of our clients that we will proactively appeal to that fund to try to get some portion or the entire portion of your attorney's fees back to you. So let's just say, and I'm not going to say a number, but if the city gets allocated a certain number of tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars for this, we take our fee. We would then go petition that fund to say, can they please get their fee back because they need this money back on the ground.
Are there other comments or questions from the commission? I'm going to make one small one. I promised I wouldn't do any standing or grandstanding, but I was in on the meeting that took place, and I am not in concurrence with our entering into this type of a lawsuit. And I'll make it under 30 seconds with all due respect to Mr. Mosley and to Mr. Albritton. And my own daughter is an attorney, so I'm not slamming attorneys, but this all boils down to a lawsuit being made by attorneys all over the United States, and it's going to be a great deal of money. And when it really comes to it, are the pharmaceutical companies really responsible for the actions taken by individuals? And I think we can continue to sue our pharmaceutical companies to the point that, you know, some of them have been bad actors, and some of the doctors have been bad actors, and some of the companies have been bad actors, the drug representatives, et cetera. But we're going to get to the point that normal people, when they go to the hospital and have a surgery, can't get the pain medications they need. And what it really boils down to is when they take you in for surgery and they kick you out and do an outpatient surgery that really should have been an in-house surgery, and they make you responsible for giving yourself pain medication, that's really when people get addicted, when they don't know how much to take. If you're in a doctor's care in a hospital and you're being given proper amounts, it's not that easy to get addicted. So if you're going to sue the pharmaceuticals, you're going to sue the insurance companies too for kicking people out of hospitals. Then we're going to come after our doctors. And it's getting to the point now that doctors are afraid to prescribe those medications to people that they need because they're afraid of being sued. So I just wanted to go on record that I'm against us taking this money. I'm against us entering this lawsuit, and that's all I'll have to say about it. Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Mayor, if I may. I've met with Mr. Mosley and his associates, and I gave him pretty much the same scenario that you just said. I'm taking a very libertarian point of view that if you're foolish enough to get hooked on drugs, then you need to be responsible for your own actions. So personally, I completely agree with what you're saying. As a commissioner, though, I feel it's my duty that if there's money for the city to get through a lawsuit, it's my duty to make sure the citizens get what they deserve. And if there's money out there for the city to be had, I would rather it come to Lynn Haven than go to Bay County or go to Florida. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else have a comment? Anyone from the public? Yes, sir.
Brad Young, 210 Lakeview Terrace. I am opposed to this representation agreement. I do not like the taking of the 30% right off the top and then taking the legal fees from the portion assigned to Lynn Haven. I don't think that's right. This is a honeypot lawsuit. It is going to be very, very lucrative for the lawyers involved. There's no doubt about it. I want to say Oklahoma got $580 million. We're talking large sums of money here. This is a honeypot. If we think there's some money for us, I would prefer to pay the legal fees directly and then take 100% of the come. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Doesn't appear there is. Any other discussion?
No, ma'am.
At this time, is there a motion to approve this resolution or any other comments from the commission?
Mayor, I'm going to make a motion just so we can move forward with this one way or the other.
I'll second.
So there's been a motion to move forward and a second. Would we read the resolution at this time or after there's a vote, sir?
I would suggest taking the vote. If there's sufficient votes, then we'll read the resolution.
Thank you very much. Ms. Gaynor, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Russell,
Yes.
Commissioner Perna,
Yes.
Commissioner Aldrich,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
No.
Mayor Anderson.
No. So the resolution would pass with a 3-vote majority. At this time, we would read the resolution. Please, Ms. Gaynor. Thank you.
Resolution numbered 2019-11-305, a resolution of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida concerning opioid litigation, authorizing, engaging, and retaining counsel to seek remedies against those responsible for wrongful distribution of prescription opiates and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. So that concludes what we need to say about it.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Yes, I would like to move back just for a moment to our acting city manager's report, which was item number 5. Thank you, Mr. Mosley, for coming today, by the way. We appreciate your time. Item number 5, B, department update. I think I either moved forward too quickly or we overlooked it. Ms. Gaynor was not able to give that report, so I'm going to back up just a moment before I move forward with item number 11.
I apologize if Kelly Battistini will come forward. As you know, I've implemented each month that we do a department update so that you and the citizens know what's happening and what we're doing. And this month, it is Kelly Battistini with HR.
Hi, good evening. The Human Resources Department, along with key members of our fire department, went through an extensive ADA training. We went over to the fire department. We had an instructor come. We also did a lot of online training. It was several weeks long. The city manager had wanted us to do this for a while. It came to light because Chief Ramey needed an ADA coordinator in order to become accredited. Thank you. And so we started this, and then I came back the first day and started to share with the city manager all the things that we were learning. She decided we wanted to go into it a little deeper. She felt like it's just important that we remove the social barriers for our citizens so they can enjoy all the things the city offers equally with everyone else. Technology, we are now almost completely digital. We don't have no more paper files. So any kind of interaction between departments is all electronic. We're working on getting our workflow process electronic. So for instance, if Bobby, the Public Works Director, wants to promote somebody to a driver, he can do it electronically and it'll route through a workflow system for approvals. And then it's done automatically, updated for salary, updated for position in the computer, everything, it's just all automatic. So we're working with that with Graham, the IT manager. Also, we have an electronic applicant tracking system. It used to be called Hirel, now it's Kildare. It posts over 50,000 job boards and I think almost 100 military job boards as well. Just one example, we posted the customer service position and we had 266 applications in 4 days.
Wow.
So as we're comparing, I made some phone calls to other municipalities around our area. One of them has 99 vacancies. One has 36 and has only filled one in the last month. Another one has 28. So I think we're doing pretty good with our 7 vacancies that we have. We have candidates for almost all of them. And I think it's the first time in 3 years that our police department school crossing guard positions have been fully staffed. So and our police department with the officers. So that's exciting. I think another reason that we're having so much success with the candidates is because of the benefit package that you all have voted for us to be able to offer to our employees. And I think that also has a lot to do with the retention and the morale of our employees. Vicki and I have come up with some morale boosting ideas we're really excited about. We've implemented some, and we've got some things up our sleeves. So stay tuned for that. We're working on a wellness program. We actually had a flu shot clinic last month for our employees. And in the spring, we are going to, hopefully maybe February-ish, we are going to try to put together a health fair, not only for our employees, but also for all the citizens to come. And I don't know if you recall the one the News Herald used to put on years ago, but that was a lot of it, Vicki's input there. And we're going to partner together with communications and see if we can do something on that scale, for our employees and the citizens. And we've also hired an HR assistant, and she has been instrumental in helping all the department heads in this building. She has gone over to the permitting and helped with them come up with new ideas and how to cut down some of the work. Vicki and I partnered with Mike Gordon, and we came up with some ideas in the permitting process to cut down the time. And so there's some exciting things that are going to be happening there as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Any questions from the commission? I'm sorry.
Okay. Thank you, Kelly. And apologize for overlooking that.
It's a great report. Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 11 on this evening's agenda. This is the discussion and approval of 55 Hurricane Michael Relief Fund grant recipients. For those of you who may not be familiar, this is the Hurricane Relief Trust Fund. It is a 501c3 fund that was established right after Hurricane Michael to aid citizens in Lynn Haven. At this point in time, I'm happy to report to you that we have collected in just over a year over $225,000 into this fund, and we've been able to give it out in $1,000 grants to citizens here in Lynn Haven who need help with rebuilding and other costs after the storm. We have an additional grant that was given to us October 10th by Florida Blue in the amount of $50,000. So our promise has been that as the money comes in, we immediately send it back out to those people who need it. And we have active applications. We intend to fill every application. I don't usually talk about faith in public meetings, but I have faith that we will receive all the funds and that we will eventually be able to fill every application that has come in. And this commission is also the board of trustees for this Hurricane Relief Grant Trust Fund. And in the future, when we get past the rebuilding stage, the way this trust fund is written, it can also be used to aid us in rebuilding. If we wanted to build a fine arts center or a gymnasium or different things for the city, we'll be able to convert that trust fund for those types of things in the future. So right now we're still in rebuilding. So without further ado, I would just say that every commissioner has a list of the addresses which were approved. We have a committee that works within the city staff to make sure that the applications are approved as much as possible in the order of need. Those people with the most children, the most damage, the most need in their families. And so I would be asking for a motion and a second, if possible, this evening to approve these 55 applications, and we will be giving this money out right away to these people so that they can use them in whatever way they see fit. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
There is a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the board or questions? Any from the public? Ms. Gaynor, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Perno,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Commissioner Russell,
Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes. And I would like to say one more time, thank you to Florida Blue for their generosity for this amount of money, and also that they will be in Lynn Haven in about a week and a half in the Walmart shopping center with all kinds of information and items to give to the citizens here in Lynn Haven to help with health and mental health issues that people are undergoing. So moving on to number 12. This is the discussion and possible action regarding approval of a development order 19-5 for the Lynn Haven Storage Park on Highway 389. Ms. Russell, did you have a report for us on that?
Since it's quasi judicial, I need to swear in anybody providing testimony. So if you are providing testimony related to this topic, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay. And I would also ask the commission for disclosure of any ex parte communication.
Mayor's had none.
None.
I've had none.
I've had none.
None.
Thank you.
This is a request for a development order approval to construct a storage park consisting of 28,750 square feet of mini storage units and 54,000 square feet of climate-controlled storage with supporting parking, stormwater management, and infrastructure on Highway 389. The land consists of 3 parcels, 2 of which are commercial, and the third one is low-density residential, and that will be the site of the stormwater ponds and actually provides kind of a buffer between that development and the housing, which is behind. The property is currently vacant, being adjacent on the south side of the new Dollar General store, which is located on the corner of Highway 390 and Highway 389. The impervious surface area on the site will be 77%, which is below the allowable maximum of 85%. The application has been reviewed and has been found to comply with the City of Lynn Haven Unified Land Development Code along with state requirements. This item went before the Lynn Haven Planning Commission on November the 5th, who recommended approval unanimously. I would like to say that representation for the developer or the owner is here tonight, Jim Slanina, if you had any questions of him, and also the reviewing engineer from Dewberry, Chris Shaw, is also here. He's the one who reviewed it to make sure that it complied with all the storm water regulations. At the planning board meeting, there was one request that we had noted in the minutes and that I'm going to bring to your attention. We allow 4-foot fencing in front of a building, and from the building back, so the sides and the rear, we allow 8-foot fencing. We allow 8 foot all the way around in industrial, but not normally in commercial. They are planning to put wrought iron fencing, that fancy wrought iron fencing, on the front of this property, and they have requested that they be allowed to have 6 foot rather than the 4 foot. So I'm bringing that to you so that you can make a decision on that.
Do you have questions or discussion?
Mayor, if I may,
Yes.
am I reading this correctly that Neil Jones is the owner?
Neil Jones at time of application was the owner, but while we were in review, it was sold to the developer. So he was the owner of the property, but the developer, the people who are actually developing it have, since he submitted this, have actually become the owners, and we have an amended development order application packet from them. But at the time of me bringing it to you, which was prior to the Planning Commission, because you have to have things early, it was still under Neil Jones in the record.
Did it go to the Planning Commission as still belonging to Neil Jones?
No, we had that discussion because Neil Jones is on the planning board,
Right.
and if he were still the owner, he would not have been able to take part, but he was no longer the owner.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Yes, Mayor.
Go ahead.
So who is the owner?
The owner is Matthew Brandon, and he is the company that are actually developing it. I'd have to pull it out of the file to remember the name of the actual company, but he's the owner of the company. Jim Slanina can probably give you more information on him.
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Any other questions from the commission?
Yes, ma'am, if I may. Just a simple one for either one of you. Why the 6 foot fence? Is it just the decor, the look that we're going for, or is there another reason for it?
She's done a great job.
Yes, she has.
It's the security.
Okay.
This is a upscale,
Mhm.
high quality, both climate controlled and non-climate controlled.
Okay.
These gentlemen, both Matt and Russ here, they operate another one in Panama City Beach. And so to protect provide security for this high tech, a portion of the 388 frontage needs to have a fence.
Mhm.
The rest of it has a fence, but that one there, and we proposed the same kind of wrought iron fence you have at your water plant, your cemeteries, things like that. Something very attractive, but allows some type of protection. We don't want to go 8 feet. We're happy with 6. And I appreciate your support.
Thank you.
Mayor, if I may,
Please.
Jim, is there going to be any buffer between the Moat Highlands homes?
Significant. As Amanda mentioned, there's about a 5-6 acre tract of residential land. We're only putting our stormwater basin on it, and there's substantial amount of land from there down to the creek. So no vertical development is being proposed on the residential property.
Thank you.
Other questions from the commission? Any questions from the public? There appear to be none. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
So there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ms. Gaynor, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Russell,
Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Perno,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes, so it stands approved. Item number 13. This is the first reading of ordinance number 1081, an annexation located at 303 34th Street, Annex 19-1 next to the Bay County Sheriff's Department. There'll be no action necessary this evening, and there is a report is from Planning Director, Ms. Richard. No report, okay. We'll just read the first reading then, 1081.
Thank you. Ordinance number 1081, an ordinance annexing into the municipal limits of the city of Lynn Haven, Florida, certain contiguous, compact, unincorporated land located at 303 34th Street, East in Bay County, Florida, for an approximate 0.377 acres of property, and is particularly described herein pursuant to the Florida statutes, section 171.044, amending the boundaries of the city to include said land, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and reciting an effective date.
Thank you, and I think Ms. Richard wanted to add something to that.
I just wanted for the public, because I said there doesn't need to be, I just wanted to let them know that the reason is that this is the first reading. The second reading at the next commission meeting will be the public hearing, and that's when I'll make a presentation and everybody will have an opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Any questions from the commission at this point that you'd like to ask?
Mayor, if I may,
Yes, go ahead.
this is an annexation, not a de-annexation. Is the sheriff's office currently in the city of Lynn Haven?
The sheriff's department that's there on 77 currently is, but this parcel is not.
I
Okay,
thought-
Chief Ramey wants to make a comment.
It is, it is.
I know, but the sheriff's
It
office
was
is
in
not
Lynn
the city.
Haven when I did the sheriff's complex in '06.
But it has to be in the biggest county seat. So if it has a 32405, the sheriff's office address does. So you have to put the sheriff's office in the biggest seat in the county. So that actually, believe it or not, is in the jurisdiction of, I mean, we respond there and you give them water, but it has a 32405 address. Yeah.
Is it-
Okay, if
but-
we could perhaps research and continue this discussion at a later time, that would be great. Please go ahead.
Jim Salonina. I just want to make, this is a contiguous parcel with the existing compound and will be inclusive within it. So it's not like a freestanding.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Moving on to item number 14. This is the first reading of ordinance number 1082, a small-scale plan amendment 19-3 at 303 34th Street East, proposing a change from Bay County Commercial to the City of Lynn Haven Commercial. There will be no action necessary this evening. We'll go ahead and read ordinance number 1082.
Ordinance number 1082, an ordinance providing for the adoption pursuant to Chapter 163 Florida statutes of a land use change from Bay County General Commercial to City of Lynn Haven Commercial for an approximate 0.377 acres of property located at 303 34th Street East in the City of Lynn Haven, Bay County, Florida, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Are there any questions that anyone on the commission has at this time? Is everyone satisfied to wait until the second reading and the public hearing? Thank you. Item number 15, this is the discussion and possible approval of ordinance number 1084, regulating mobile food truck vendors in the city of Lynn Haven. We have the ordinance, and then maybe the acting city manager would like to make some comments as well.
Sure. Mayor, we have seen and have been asked about food trucks coming into the city of Lynn Haven, which right now we do not allow. But one of the things that we would like to do is allow that and put some guidelines to when and where food trucks will be allowed. One of the things with this ordinance will be that food trucks that come into the city of Lynn Haven will actually have to apply for a permit annually, which is $100, and also pay a $50 fee. We currently do allow some of the food trucks when we do some of the special events, but we have no way of regulating them when they're outside of these special events. And so we are asking to put an ordinance in place, put a permitting fee in place, so that the food trucks and people will see that they have been permitted by the city of Lynn Haven.
And Mayor, this is just a first reading as well.
Yes, yes. Did we already read it? I'm sorry, I didn't think we did. No.
Ordinance number 1084, an ordinance of the City Commission of Lynn Haven, Florida, creating a new chapter entitled Mobile Food Trucks Operating Within the City, providing definitions, regulations for mobile food trucks, requiring mobile food trucks vendors permits, establishing regulations and prohibitions, providing for enforcement, appeals, and penalties, providing for repealer, codification, and severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Is there any, and this is a first reading, it doesn't say possible action, or it just says discussion and possible approval, so that is a misnomer on the agenda.
Yes,
Okay,
it can
thank
only
you.
have the first reading. We can't
Thank
approve
you.
it until the second.
Thank you very much. So even though this is a first reading, are there any comments or questions from the commission regarding the food truck ordinance? Are there any questions from the public regarding this? Okay. Moving on to item number 16, discussion and possible approval of resolution 2019-11-306 addressing private party building and permitting vendor fees. Can we read the resolution?
Yes, ma'am. Resolution number 2019-11-306, a resolution of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, establishing a fee schedule for permits issued by the building department for use in a private provider as defined pursuant to Chapter 553 Florida statutes and providing an effective date. Mayor, this resolution here just puts us in line with the Florida statutes. Florida statute says we can no longer charge private providers the same amount that the city charges. So we're asking that the city be able to give some type of discount to those private providers. And in this resolution, there's a 20% discount with a $75 fee for the building inspector putting his stamp of approval and looking over any plans that he may have to do.
Thank you. Are there questions from the commission regarding this resolution?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead, please.
Can you, the term that you just used, private providers, can you explain to me what that is?
Yes, ma'am. Every city has their own provider for a building inspector or building official. We have Mike Gordon and Associates. Some have EPCI. Some developers prefer to go out and get a company who is not attached to any city and do their own permitting, inspections, and plans. And those folks already bring in everything. And normally the city would have to look at those plans and go over them. But basically this time around, because all the work has been done on the front end by those private providers, we have to give them some type of discount. But we also we're relinquishing any liability once we approve this resolution.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the commission? Any from the public?
Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
I've had a discussion with the acting city manager about this, and I guess I need to, I'd like some clarification as far as licensing is concerned. I know that our city planner has a planning license issued through the state. I know our building official has a building license issued through the state. If we go to allow these people to have private plan or a private party suppliers for their planning and building departments, who issues the license? Will the license still be issued through our building official, or is it going to be through their building official? And the reason I'm asking that is because I understand from my license fees, if I get in trouble, I get pulled in front of the state because of my license. I do not want us to allow them to use their building official and then our building official get drug in front of the state if there's a problem with the building codes of the house being built.
So Mayor, one of the things we have put in place is an application. It's two things. That the application is filled out by the contractor, and it says that we have a whole harmless agreement that they signed and not holding the city liable for anything that happens. That is filled out by the contractor itself. And so even the building, we did meet with our building official to make sure we were doing things correctly. So no liability will be on the city once they fill out that application and that affidavit.
That's a financial liability, right? I'm referring to a license liability.
Commissioner, if I may, we don't have a choice. We have to allow them by state statute. Private providers are a being of state statute. With that being said, the state statute sets forth the criteria that you must meet to be a private provider, and they are regulated by DPPR among their licensing board as well. So I hope that answers your question. Similar to your license being regulated by your board or potentially DPPR, depending on the scenario, similar to that private provider, but he must meet those criteria set forth in state statute. I do not believe there's a way that the city can prevent a private provider. The statute simply says that we've got to allow them and that we must reduce our fees based off of the amount of cost that it saves us.
So Mayor, if I may.
Go ahead.
They dictate the percentage we have to give them, or we can dictate that percentage?
They do not get to dictate, but we have to have some sort of reasonable basis for the number that we come to, and that's what in my discussions with Mr. Gordon and Ms. Gaynor is that we have to have a reasonable nexus between the reduction in fees and what we're requesting from the private provider. Because if the private provider were to ever sue us, we'd have to have somebody raise their right hand and testify as to the reduction in workload.
Mayor, if I may continue.
Sure, go ahead.
At the end of the day, Mike Gordon's name is going to be the building official that issues a permit, correct?
He will have some participation in this, but the ultimate sign or that the building meets all code would be the private provider.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Can I just say something? With these will not be being reviewed by Mike Gordon at all. These will be handled like over-the-counter permits, which is something that the staff have found very difficult to swallow, to be honest, because we're basically going to have to take their word for it if we don't do a review of it, which we're not supposed to because they're saying it's already been done, that their setbacks are correct, that the number of fixtures they're telling us are going to be in there are actually the true number that are in there. But Mike Gordon will not be doing a review. He won't be looking at the plans at all, so he won't be involved and he won't be carrying out inspections unless he's one of the, I think there's something like 3% of buildings have to be randomly inspected. So unless, one of those turns out to be one of the ones, but other than that, the city basically isn't reviewing anything, isn't inspecting anything.
Wow.
Right. And I was also informed that this was put in place as an emergency measure some time ago, but it has not been rescinded, and so it's still on the books as a statute, and we can't argue with it.
Mayor, if I may.
Go ahead, please.
I would really like for the staff to make sure that the discount that we're giving them is the absolute minimum possible discount.
Mayor? Yes, please.
And that is a very true statement. We have looked at other cities. We did research with Bay County. We researched Panama City Beach, and this is definitely the minimum. I will let you know that.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or discussion? And we can go forward with either with an approval this evening, correct, on this one? It's
Yes,
not, okay. Is there a motion for approval?
So
I mean,
moved.
Thank you. I was gonna say, even though it's distasteful, it's, as the attorney has pointed out now several times, it's Florida statute, everyone.
We have no choice. Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any from the public? Ms. Gaynor, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Commissioner Russell,
No.
Commissioner Parno,
No.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes. So it is approved 3-2. And I would also say that the 3 who voted in line with Florida statute. Thank you very much. Item number 17, discussion and possible approval of resolution 2019-11-307. This is the fiscal year 2018-2019 final budget amendment. Ms. Gaynor, do you have a report?
Yes, ma'am. Mayor, this is also required that we come in and we true up all of our numbers from last year. This is last year's budget, 18-19. And this is to show where we were over or under budget in some areas. And then this resolution is actually sent to the state. So this is one of these resolutions that we have to pass and to have it in our documents.
So moved.
Second.
So there has been a motion and a second. Do we do need to read the resolution, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Gaynor, would you please read the resolution? Thank you.
Resolution number 2019-11-307, a resolution of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, amending the adopted general fund, enterprise fund budgets, and disaster recovery budget for fiscal year 2018-2019.
So there's been a motion and a second. We've read the resolution. Are there any questions or concerns from the commission? Any from the public? Ms. Gaynor, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Commissioner Russell,
Yes.
Commissioner Parno,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes, stands approved. Item number 18, discussion and possible approval of the residential incentive program application for 600 East 16th Street. Mr. Janke, do you have the report on that?
This application was received by city staff actually last year in September. Obviously the project had a little delay, but it was completed in June of 2019, and the applicant is requesting approval of this application as presented.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the commission for Mr. Janke? There appear to be none. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions from the public? Ms. Gaynor, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Commissioner Russell,
Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Parno,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes. Stands approved. Item number 20, item number 19, discussion and possible approval of the residential incentive program application for 602 East 16th Street. The same report, basically the different address.
Correct. It's just the building right next door.
Okay, just for the public's information, the amount of the application is
$2,500
for each one, right?
for each one.
Thank you very much. Is there any further discussion from the commission? Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any further discussion from the public? Ms. Gaynor, please call the roll.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Commissioner Russell,
Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Parno,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes. Item number 21, discussion and possible approval of ordinance number 1085, amending chapter 54. Did I skip one? Sorry. Discussion and possible approval of an access easement in the city of Lynn Haven. This is the city attorney, Mr. Albritton. I'm sorry. Item number 20.
Thank you, Mayor. This pertains to a portion of Colorado Avenue. I would like to point out that there is an access easement for this road for all but the triangle piece. If you look at it on your agenda, which is labeled access easement, there's already an access easement for everything but that triangle piece. This essentially is to clean that up The access easement for the other portion of the road were adopted under previous administration, so it's fairly old. In this particular case, the road is, based off the information I've been provided, the road has been maintained by the city of Lynn Haven for more than 4 years, which is required statutorily for it to be dedicated. And this is simply perfunctory to provide prima facie evidence of our ability to come in and maintain that road.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Albritton?
Yes.
Go ahead, please.
It was my understanding that that triangle belonged to the lady who lives on the corner. And that when her husband passed, or before he passed, he said that they came to him from the country club, said, we want to clean it up and such. And he gave his permission. So I guess I'm in question, or how we can just take that.
I don't believe we're taking anything. This is not, number one, pursuant to Florida statute, if a road that's maintained by a municipality for 4 continuous years is presumed to be dedicated to the municipality. My understanding of what I've been told, and I have not participated in any maintenance of Colorado Avenue, so I'm taking it for what I'm being told, is that we've maintained this road for more than 4 years. And it is not a taking that we're taking away this road. It is a public access road. All we're doing is saying that we are now documenting in the public records that we have a right for the maintenance side of the road, whether it's the road needs to be resurfaced or there's some other similar issues. I know in gathering evidence along with Ms. Gaynor, I spoke to Mr. Forehand, who's in the public, in the crowd today. So if Mr. Forehand would like to address what's actually been done there. But legally speaking, my understanding is that this road has been maintained by the city of Lynn Haven for more than 4 continuous years, and pursuant to Florida statute 95.361, this would allow us to claim this access easement.
Does you want more information from Mr. Forehand, or?
Sure. Is it any different than what he just said?
Well, I'll give Chris Forehand. I'm with Panhandle Engineering. I'll give you a little bit of additional information. You know, we're getting ready to pave Colorado.
Yes.
It's on the list. Getting ready to put a water line down Colorado. The water line is actually on the other side of the road, so it wouldn't affect this triangle. But in preparation of the paving, we wanted to make sure that we had adequate right-of-way, and we know there's been some issues with that area in the past. So in checking that, we figured out that this triangle was left out. So we thought it'd be a good idea before we go in there and make improvements that we make sure that this right-of-way is documented, or easement per se.
And did we have to address the owner? I mean, did we have to do anything there, or is it simply, if it does belong to them, they lost it because we've been maintaining it for 4 years?
Statute says it's presumed to be dedicated if you meet the criteria, which is at least 4 continuous years of maintenance.
Okay.
So I would follow up on what Commissioner Tender's asking. Is there a dispute about the property? I mean, has someone come to the city disputing ownership of the property, or I'm just asking?
No, and I'm just asking on their behalf, do they even know that we're doing this?
Mayor, we will have some conversation with these owners to know. They do know that part of Colorado is in the easement, and that we are going to go and do some we're going to do some paving and some other things there. So we are going to meet with them, but we did not want to meet with them until after we found out whether or not go on and have this approved by the commission.
So I understand everything about the easement and our maintenance and all that, but what I'm hearing tonight is new information to me that there may be a property owner in question. Yeah. And so if this is not like an emergency situation for the paving or whatever, would it hurt anything to let it lie there for a week or two while we have the discussion with this property owner about what we're talking about tonight?
And I mean, I'd just like to be on the side of caution. I've had this conversation with this lady, and it was just an innocent conversation. She told me this wonderful story about blah, blah, blah. And what you're saying to me sounds like the exact same spot. And she still lives on that corner.
Is this near where they want to put a roundabout at the entrance of the country club?
Mm-hmm.
Right there?
No, sir, it's not.
No?
No, it's
No,
that
it's not
little
the
curve just as it comes into Country Club Drive, where the cart barns used to be.
Yeah, where
In
the car
front of
barns
the
used to
guard
be,
station.
right there.
In fact, I don't know if you've been there lately, but they have a
On the right.
white fence that's kind of close to the road there. That's that property.
On the back side?
Yes, it would be on the west side of Colorado.
Okay.
Well, I can't make the motion, but I'm just, my opinion is that Commissioner Tender has brought up something that I think it would behoove the commission to get more information before we move forward on this.
Mayor, if I may?
Yes, go ahead, please.
I propose that, I'd like to make a motion that we postpone this item until the next commission meeting to give time for the property owners to be notified.
I'll second that.
There's been a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Any from the public? Ms. Gaynor?
Commissioner Russell,
Yes.
Commissioner Aldrich,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Commissioner Perno,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes. So I'll just sort of table this until the next meeting. Thank you very much. Item number 21 is something that has sort of been ongoing that I brought to our attorney and to our acting city manager. Discussion and possible approval of ordinance number 1085, amending chapter 54 of the city's code of ordinances, making provisions for disposal chutes at construction sites. The reason for this is our ordinance did not contain it. It is in Florida statutes. And I had a personal experience. I'm temporarily living in the condominium across the bridge. It's 8 stories tall. And I was walking the dog very shortly beside the building. There were no warning signs, no danger signs, no cordons, nothing to warn anybody not to be walking there. And a piece of cast iron, a lightning rod with a pointed end weighing approximately 12 pounds fell from 8 stories above my head and planted in the ground about 6 feet from the dog and I. So since I did not die, I brought, and I was being humorous, but it really was very frightening, and then began to look, and all around the building where this new roof was being put on, there were full bottles of sports drinks, this full of water falling off an 8-foot building can injure you, pieces of metal. So anyway, I brought this forward, and in light of the fact we're probably going to be building buildings here in the center of town and contracting with people, that we would have a safe disposal method so they're not just tossing things off the top of a roof more than 2 stories high to hit the people below. So that's the story behind it. And it is in compliance with Florida statute, if you want to comment on that.
Mayor, it's essentially taking the language provided by OSHA that OSHA dictates for employers in this particular situation and being placed into our code of ordinances for enforceability from a local level.
Thank you. Any discussion from the commissioner, questions? Any from the public? I would hope that we could move forward on it.
I would make a motion. Seems in the sense of safety, that just is good common sense.
Second.
So there's a motion and a second. Could we read the ordinance 1085 at this time before we move forward? Oh, it is a first reading. Okay.
Well, we don't need a motion.
I'm looking at possible approval, so I apologize. It's so if we'll just strike through possible approval, I apologize. Let's go ahead and read the ordinance 1085.
An ordinance of the City Commission of Glen Haven, Florida, amending Chapter 54, Article 2 of Glen Haven Code of Ordinances related to building construction wastes, providing for requirements of safety and cleanliness of construction sites, providing severability and an effective date.
Thank you. So that was a first reading, so we wouldn't require any action this evening. So we'll move on to our last item. And if we're going to have 49 items on the December meeting, we might want to consider having two. I'm just kidding. Item number 22, discussion and possible approval to advertise an RFP for cemetery and lawn care services for city properties. Ms. Gaynor.
Mayor, we're in a kind of a dormant season right now, and we've gone through a pretty rough season in terms of the city of Glen Haven. We have a lot of properties that we've acquired, some properties that still need to be attended to, and really meeting with the staff, we wanted to go back and look at our agreement and for the cemetery and lawn care and really see how we possibly could save some money. We now have kind of a full staff in place, really sit down and say what properties we really want to do ourselves and what properties we want to be due out for bid. And this particular RFP probably will take us about a month to write, and so it won't probably go out until the first of the year. So we want to make sure we can get started on it and put it out and really kind of see what's out there so that we can potentially have maybe 1 or 2 vendors in place. And this will come back before the commission before we send it out again.
Thank you. Is there discussion from the commission?
Mayor, if I may.
Please go ahead.
if we agree to put this out for an RFP, what happens to the current contract we have with Greenleaf?
That contract will be voided, and the contract says we have to give him at least a 30-day notice. And so that's one of the reasons we'll probably give us about a month to write it. And then once the bid goes out, we will give the current vendor a 30-day notice.
And Mayor, if I may continue?
Go ahead, please.
And you're doing this on an RFP, not an RFQ, correct?
Yes, sir. We did it on RFP last time.
Okay.
Because it'll be pricing involved.
And Greenleaf will have no problem in rebidding.
They will, anyone that when we put out a bid, any firm can bid on a RFP if they're qualified to do so or have the resources to do so. Even if they don't, we have to receive all bids, and then it's always in our bid that the city has the right to reject any bids, but normally we do not.
Mayor, one last question.
Go ahead, please.
The quantity of work that this RFP is going to have compared to what we currently have under contract is significantly different? Or is it the same, basically the same work?
I think one of the things that we are looking at doing is some of it will be differently, but one of the problems is that you have it separated in two categories, and we want really a total price of that contract when we get this back, so that you will be able and I will be able to see how to budget for the rest of the year for that year. Right now it's pretty hard because you do have those added alternates on one side, and some of those were added, some of those were taken away. You will have one amount that you will be able to approve and move from there.
Thank you, Mayor.
Are there other questions from the commission?
Mayor, if I may.
Go ahead, please, Mr. Perno.
At a previous point, Mr. Anderson, who has the contract with the city, he asked to speak to the commissioners, and I believe I was the only commissioner to meet with him, and he explained at that time how he did this contract and how it was set up as a base contract with additional add-ons, and he was awarded add-ons due to post-storm situations and whatnot by our previous city manager, and it became to where he had all the add-ons, and therefore it drove up his pricing and so forth. But he reiterated to me that he's bid a very fair and low contract, and and his contract actually, in his opinion, was underbid for certain areas, and if it had to go out to bid again, and if he was to bid and other companies would bid, we have a base contract with this man, and we're going to go ahead and bid it, and people are going to come back and bid it. We're going to get bids for more. We're going to be on the hook for more, and we have this man through 2021, and I think he does a great job, because I can drive by and see the parks and see the stuff that he's done and see the stuff that the city maintains, and there is a huge difference in the quality of work that when you see this. He's also volunteered to help with the Memorial Garden to maintain it in our parks, and he does the irrigation a part of things without charging the city. He goes above and beyond, I believe, and he's expressed to me that he does this for a passion for the city that he's lived in his whole life. He's a Lynn Haven resident and a good man, as far as I'm concerned. Is when I looked across the table at him, I saw in his eyes a passion for the work that he does and the care for our city. So I don't know why we would bid again to come in at higher pricing for someone we have locked in for the next 2 years, and whether we want to bid the add-ons separately or not, that's relevant to who we want to bid that to. But we have the man locked up at a base contract at a fair price until the end of his contract. So I that's all I wanted to say, and I know that he's here, and I know there's going to be public commentary, so I just like to mention that, and that's how I feel about it. So
Thank you, Commissioner Perno. Is there any further discussion on the commission?
Yes, Mayor.
Go ahead,
if I
please,
may.
Commissioner
I
Aldridge.
have a couple of questions. First off, was the original contract, it was signed before the hurricane, is that correct?
That's correct.
What's the total dollar amount on that contract, do we know?
The total amount was, I think, 126,000, somewhere along.
So we were 126,000 on the contract. That was just for the lawn care service.
The ones that we had
So
specified in that.
When
in
we
that.
throw in the additions, what did our total come up to?
Well, it went up to almost $459,000. And then after the storm, we cut several properties from that, and it took it down to $294,000.
So our bottom line, we net 294, what we
Yes, sir.
spent?
Yes, sir. And that's with any additional things that we ask the current vendor to do. There is some additional charge to those. So
And-
that's just the net of the properties we have in place, but any additional work will come with that as well. It'll be charged to us.
And how many months has this contract been under?
It's since 2017.
5-year contract.
But,
Okay.
how many months? It is a 3-year contract, a 4-year contract with the
48
right to
months.
renew for another 4
48
years.
months, and we're about 24 months in, right? So if we do our math on this, we're looking at about 11 to 12 grand a month.
It normally runs about 18,000,
18 a
18
month?
to 20,000 a month. Yes, sir.
Do we feel like that's high?
Yes, sir. I do feel like that's a little bit high.
Okay. Because I, just from my standpoint, what I'm looking at here is, I mean, I like Mr. Anderson as well. This isn't about liking, this is about money, and can we do something more efficiently or can we not? Where I'm sitting at, it's a lot of dollars. It's a lot of dollars. And I can't say that I am adamantly opposed anytime someone says, hey, look, there's a different set of circumstances here versus pre-storm. There's a lot more dollars being spent on things, and we may want to circle the wagons back up and look at this. That's capitalism. I do it every day. I bid jobs every single day and try to win contracts with big companies. So I understand how that game works. But again, my opinion, I know Commissioner Perno gave his. It's not a not like thing. It's not a personal thing at all. I'm looking at dollars. I'm looking at numbers. Can we save money? I don't know. So I want to put that out there, though.
Thank you, Commissioner Aldridge.
And
Anyone else on
if
the?
I may?
Yes, go ahead, Commissioner Perno.
My opinion is that we won't save money. We put this out for bid again, it's going to come in higher because of the cost of doing business. The other companies are going to bid at a higher amount. Even the person we have a contract with on the base contract, he's going to come back and bid higher. So we're going to end up looking at bids to pay more money than we have locked in right now.
Mayor, if I may.
Yes, go ahead, please, Commissioner Tender.
I tend to agree with Commissioner Aldridge because of one thing. It doesn't hurt to shop as long as you don't buy. That's the only time you get in trouble. If you put a RFP out there to see if anybody is cheaper, we're not going to accept somebody who's more expensive.
We're not going to avoid the contract when we put out the RFP. We avoid the contract.
But he could resubmit the balance of the contract.
He's already said he's going to come in higher because everybody's going to come in higher. It's
Then
the
I-
cost of doing business today versus when he locked in at the contract.
So he actually told you that he's going to come in higher if he rebids?
If the cost of doing business is more than it was when he bid the contract,
Well, then I think that we should give our lawn mowing back to Mr. Horton, buy a few riders, and we could hire quite a few people.
and you'll see the difference between mowers on the ground and a company that comes in and manicures your parks and whatnot. And is
Right.
that what we want to put out there? Because there's a total difference between the quality of work that's done in our parks versus the mowing that's done by our city.
The only thing I would like to say, because I'm not arguing with you, Commissioner Perno, at all, Mr. Anderson did ask everybody if they wanted to talk to him one-on-one. And
I was the only one who did.
right. I chose not to because I felt in the midst of an FBI investigation that he's involved with, it would
I
be
didn't know
improper
about him being
for me
involved
to
in an
meet with
FBI
him.
industry because I don't work for the FBI.
Okay.
I just know that a guy has to
Well,
talk
that
with
was
me who's a
published.
Lynn Haven citizen.
Okay,
Yeah.
if we could have order, I think what Ms. Tender, Commissioner Tender, excuse me, is referring to is it's been highly publicized in local news media, as well as we have been requested as the city to supply documentation from various companies the city did business with when Mr. White was the city manager. And Greenleaf was one of those that was requested.
I get it.
So that
but
so
also-
Commissioner Tender was not insinuating anything, in my opinion, other than just stating a fact that has been publicized. It certainly doesn't mean that anyone's guilty or innocent, because believe you me, I've had several things thrown my way too.
I know y'all have, and I wouldn't bring that up other than the fact that, hey, a fellow wanted to talk to us about this stuff, and I just wanted to do that.
And I think that what Commissioner Tender is saying, that to meet one-on-one with a vendor that at this point in time, there has been some question about, she didn't feel comfortable doing that. It was, and so I think that's what she was saying, if I may put words in your mouth.
Absolutely.
Because that's
That's all I was
exactly the
saying.
reason I didn't respond as well. So is there any other discussion?
Well, I just about said everything I said from meeting him, so, you know, I put
And-
it out there too. I hope the FBI heard it too.
And and I'll not comment on that for sure. Here we go.
What the heck?
It's been an interesting discussion.
I didn't know my mouth.
Um,
Mayor, the whole goal of this is to try
Save
to
money.
save
Yes.
money.
Let's get back to the point.
Yes, the whole goal of this is to save money. Now that we have a full staff in place, we can sit down and see what our staff can do, and then what this other vendor, whether it be Mr. Anderson. Again, we all love Mr. Anderson. We know he loves the city and he has done a great job, but we want to make sure that we are getting the best bang for our buck. He has expressed to me that yes, he did maybe underbid on some of those projects, and particularly the cemetery. There's a big job there all by itself. And so we are going to restructure the RFP so that it is fair to everyone. And before we put this RFP out, I would like for every commissioner to look at it and see that what we put together and what we propose before it goes out.
If I may again, we're voiding a man's contract to do this. And
We don't have to do that.
we don't have to void his contract?
And you tell me if I'm correct, but do we have to void his contract when we put out another contract? When we put out another RFP?
I think it makes it very complicated to put this out to bid and then look at the bid prices and then come back and say, no, we like the original contract prices. I think that creates a lot of issues for bid challenges. Should we see the bid prices from a number of vendors and look at Mr. Anderson's contract afterwards and say we want to stick with that? I think the city's best bet is to the either or option, either stick with Mr. Anderson or go as proposed by city manager. Gainer.
And if I haven't really said anything about my opinion about this. And again, I think that Greenleaf and Mr. Anderson have done a beautiful job in making the parks and the cemeteries look the way they do. But at the same point, the citizens have the power to pull in at any time a public records request, and have done so. And in looking at what we've spent on lawn care and parks, whether they're beautiful or not, we're right at, over the past months, $1 million. That's what's being looked at. That's why they're being looked at. And, you know, I like the way the parks look, but I'm not sure that right at $1 million for lawn care is where a city this size needs to be. So I hope that that doesn't offend anyone, but that's the figures. It's close to $1 million. And in this time, I think that's a little bit high for manicuring our hedges. So that's where I'm at.
Mayor, if I may, I've sat over and been quiet, and obviously I didn't want to wade into the fray, but to defend you and Ms. Tender.
Oh, I can defend myself.
No, I know.
So you just take care of you.
I know.
I don't need to be defended. Thank you very much.
I too did not meet with Mr. Anderson, and just to let the other commissioners know, I reached out to our city attorney, and I did not meet with Mr. Anderson based on his recommendation. So that was the understanding. It was just not a smart move for a commissioner to meet with him. So that being said, to avoid a gentleman's contract has been given in good faith, I have issue with. void contracts, and it's going to make future vendors think twice about wanting to do business with City of Lynn Haven. You know, if we're going to void contracts every time we think that we can save a little money or we can get a better job, at what point do they say, well, I don't want to do business with Lynn Haven because I can't be guaranteed I'm going to have that job? Yeah. So from that aspect, I have issues with this. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. And if I may come back and add to that, I'm not sure that having a 5-year contract for lawn service was a great decision on the part of the former city manager. So I don't have a lot of guilt about thinking about doing a contract differently, even if we stay with the same person, maybe just renegotiating that contract for a shorter period of time to see how the pricing goes this time. But the former city manager to negotiate a 5-year contract, I don't know that he did himself or the vendor any good because the vendor's saying he underbid. So I don't feel any guilt at looking at possibly changing that contract. And then if this vendor chooses to come back and bid again, that's certainly this vendor's decision. That's my thought.
Yes, ma'am. If I may.
Sure.
While the city manager may have negotiated the contract, this commission approved it. So I always feel like the buck stops at this table.
And if I may come back with that, while the commission approved a certain contract, this commission did not approve the amount that was ultimately spent.
Because of add-ons. I would agree with that. Yes, ma'am.
There we have it.
I have a question as
I
well.
know that that's what we said was cause add-ons, but he was given all the add-ons by the previous city manager, and we you know, he did the work, he put in the bill.
I'm going to stop my comments at that point. I'm just going to reiterate that nearly $1 million sounds like a lot of money to me for the time period for that work. And I agree with the acting city manager that it would be prudent for us to at least entertain the possibility of a different company. If the same company wants to bid.
I would say one last thing. I'm sorry, Mayor.
No,
if I may.
That's why we're here. We certainly can't talk anywhere else.
I know that, and I didn't want to interrupt.
And Mr. Anderson, I hope we're not making you uncomfortable with our discussion. It's just the only place. It's the only place we can talk, and I appreciate you being here.
I thought I might have been interrupting, so I
No,
wanted to be
please go
respectful.
ahead.
I'm sorry. Is that I would entertain all the shopping in the world if we didn't void the man's contract until we did it. I mean, I think that's fair to him.
And I think the attorney has just told us that that's not a prudent move.
But it could be done.
Can I ask a question as well? Have we looked at, Ms. Gaynor, the amount of properties that are out there that we think that the city could maintain without straining our resources versus the ones that truly need lawn care? Have we delineated those properties out?
That is the reason why we're having this conversation, is because we have sat down with the community services director, and there are some properties now that we have a full staff that we can probably maintain ourselves. We probably could take away from Mr. Anderson, and I think that may happen. But if we want to streamline it and take away some of those properties that the city can now do themselves, but the city just bought 2 other properties within the past year that we've added to that, along with all of the right-of-ways and the easements and the streets that we do. So it's a lot of work. Yes. So yes, we can sit down and do that if you'd like for me to bring it back to the commission.
Yeah, I think what I want to do, I'd like to make a motion that we table this. It's winter time. It's about to be 28 degrees outside. There's not going to be anything growing. So let's table it. Let's find out exactly what we feel like we can handle as a city versus what we feel like we really need professional lawn care on, because I would think some things that are happening in the future, we will need professional lawn care. It can't just be our city crew out there doing all that. But I also want to make sure we're making the right decision. I'm having a heartburn here with that. First off, I've never heard of in my business, a 5-year contract. That's a long contract. But that being said, I also don't want to nullify a contract that has been signed, because again, y'all know me, I stick by what I say or what we've done. So I'm for saving money. I'm for doing the right thing. Doing the right thing is the main thing in that sentence. I would like to make a motion to table this until the December meeting, where we could get some more facts together, and then we can say, okay, look, here's what we're looking at. Here's the entire battlefield. Now we can make a decision.
Second.
there's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the commission? Is there any discussion from the public? You've been the topic. You certainly have the right to talk.
Absolutely.
I had a big old spiel I was going to talk about, but the thing was the $1 million is not just lawn maintenance. I've been the lowest bidder on just about any project that has came along to the city. And so all of that is totaled into that amount. So it's not just lawn care, you know, and I am locked in at a lower price than I'm going to be if you rebid.
Sure.
So it's because of error on my part, bidding error, you know,
I've done the
underbid
same.
properties.
I know.
But I've stuck
Yeah.
by
Right.
what I said I was going to do.
Right.
And I take care of them, and, you know, I don't complain. I do it volunteer all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to make sure that I was clear. The $1 million is not just lawn care.
Sure.
It's projects, it's installs, it's everything like that.
Sure.
Everything that I have won that's been paid to me has been that amounts up to the $1 million.
Right. And I'm not here to question.
No, no,
I'm
no.
not here to question that. I'm really not. And I know that you know every one of us up here. You know most people in this room. Okay, so you know none of us are throwing a rock at you.
Yeah, no, I don't
it,
feel
it comes down to dollars and cents at the end of the day.
Yeah, and like she was saying, the $20,000, that's
Mhm.
18,000 is the maintenance.
Right. Right.
You know, 2,000 is as a project that I did, and you know, I'll be doing another one for Greg, and so it's just that's where I just come in as the lowest bidder on these things because I am a for-profit business, but I don't profit off the city.
Right.
You guys it's a sense of pride here, and also that you know, I get a lot of work from you guys.
Mhm.
And another thing is, if you would have met with me, I would have never discussed anything about an investigation. I strictly wanted to talk about the contract.
Yeah,
That was it.
We didn't talk about any investigation.
That was it. Strictly talk about the contract. All right. I've got a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion from the public? There's been a motion and a second that this item be tabled until the December meeting. And Ms. Gaynor, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Russell,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Commissioner Perno,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes. And so that we've tabled that until December, and then we'll have just one meeting the month of December. And item number 23, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for attending. Have a lovely Thanksgiving. It's December